Here's a dilemma a lot of photographers face. You go on an epic photo trip and convince yourself you need to bring everything. Every camera, every lens, every format. Then you get there and realize you only have 2 hands. Meanwhile, you've got 4 cameras hanging off your neck and shoulders, all swinging around and smacking into each other while you're hiking these long, arduous trails looking for the spot. Yeah, I was on one of those trips recently. And by the end of the trip, both of my digital cameras were left behind, while the Ace Pro 2 came with me everywhere. Let me explain. I was fortunate enough to be invited on an incredible landscape photography trip to the Redwoods with a few friends, including master landscape photographer David Brookover. It's always fascinating watching David work. He has this uncanny ability to see things most people would walk right past. Somehow, he'll spot a scene that looks completely ordinary and through his composition and framing, transform it into something extraordinary. And then there was me, carrying 2 film cameras, 2 digital cameras, a tripod, my spot meter, a few filters, in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag full of 35mm and 120 film on these epic hikes through the Redwoods. Because I'm greedy, I want to capture everything. I want film, I want digital, I want different formats, I want options. And because I was shooting in unfamiliar territory, I wasn't sure what would work best. Maybe a scene would look better in panoramic format, maybe square, maybe 35mm. And if the film shots didn't work out, I still wanted a digital record of what I saw, just in case. The problem was that all of this gear had to come with me on these long hikes through the Redwoods, and I was there for an entire week. By day 3, my body was already feeling it. Something had to go. Then I remember I had brought the Ace Pro 2. So I made a crazy decision. I left both of my digital cameras behind and carried only the Ace Pro 2 and my 2 film cameras, obviously, because I wasn't going to leave them behind. It felt risky because I never used an action camera as my primary digital camera for an entire trip. Not for a trip like this. Not for both photos and video. But if there was ever a place to put it to the test, this was it. And wow, am I glad I did. For the first time during the trip, I stopped worrying about documenting the trip and started enjoying it. I wasn't constantly juggling cameras anymore. I wasn't trying to decide which digital camera to grab. And for the rest of the trip, the Ace Pro 2 became my behind-the-scenes camera, my video camera, and surprisingly often, my photography camera as well. I was able to put the Ace Pro 2 on a selfie stick and document our long hikes through Stout Grove and Fern Canyon. And when I needed both of my hands, I'd mount the Ace Pro 2 on a neck mount so I could free my hands up to use my spot meter and operate my 500 cm. But what surprised me most was how much I enjoyed using it as a photo camera. My photos from the Ace Pro 2 actually came out pretty good. The Explorer grip helped make the Ace Pro 2 feel more like an actual camera in my hand. I found myself using the zoom rocker surprisingly often, and having a physical dial made it much easier to change settings without constantly poking at the touchscreen. The grip can also power the camera when the battery starts getting low. Because the AP2 is so easy to use, it almost made me wonder why I was torturing myself with my Fujifilm TX1 and Hasselblad 500 cm. Oh yeah, it was for the love of film. But honestly, I totally did not expect to enjoy shooting the Ace Pro 2 this much. Once we got to a spot, I found myself leaving my film camera on the tripod while I walked around with the AP2 snapping photos. Their built-in color profiles, Leica lugs, and even some film simulations that honestly just make the camera more fun to use. And you can easily connect the Ace Pro 2 to the Insta360 app to immediately download your photos, making it easy to share them on the go. I also brought the cinematic lens and close-up lens with me to try. Swapping them out was really easy. I just twisted off the standard lens and popped on whichever lens I wanted to use. I was quite impressed by the cinematic lens because it gave the images a different feel. The wider 2.35:1 aspect ratio immediately made scenes feel more immersive and cinematic. To really lean into the effect, I found myself shooting directly into the sun to create those exaggerated lens flares reminiscent of anamorphic lenses. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're using this lens, you're limited to shooting in the 2.35:1 aspect ratio. My only real complaint is that I wish the camera supported RAW capture while using the cinematic lens, as it would give me more flexibility when editing the images later. I like the idea of the close-up lens since it allows focusing from roughly 4 to 30 inches away. But I have to admit, I struggled with it. The distances aren't marked on the lens, and while focus speaking helps, the LCD screen is so small that it often ends up covered in red peaking highlights. That made it difficult for me to tell exactly what was in focus. But perhaps I just need more practice with it. One feature I really appreciate on the Ace Pro 2 is the ability to choose different fields of view. One perception I've always had of action cameras is that their images tend to look overly distorted because of the ultra-wide lens. But with the Ace Pro 2, I can choose the field of view depending on what I'm shooting. For landscape photography, I generally want my horizon line to stay as straight and natural as possible. After all, I am documenting nature, and the world doesn't seem curved in real life the way it sometimes can in ultra-wide photos. Now, I could probably go on and on about the different features on the Ace Pro 2, but honestly, that's not really the point I'm trying to make. The point is that I went on this incredible trip with great people in one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited. And somewhere along the way, I stopped worrying so much about the gear. I stopped worrying about which digital camera I should be using. I stopped worrying about whether I had brought the perfect setup. And I started paying more attention to the experience itself. The Ace Pro 2 didn't replace my film cameras, but it did replace enough of the other gear that I was carrying that it made the trip simpler, lighter, and honestly, more enjoyable. When I got home, I immediately started going through the photos. Not because I needed to post them, not because I needed to edit them, but because I wanted to relive the trip. The giant redwoods, the long hikes, the conversations with friends, watching David work. All those little moments that already felt further away than they should. And that's one thing I actually appreciate about pairing the Ace Pro 2 with the pocket printer. It's so easy to take a photo, print it, and turn a fleeting moment into something tangible. I've always believed photographs aren't meant to live exclusively on hard drives, memory cards, or buried somewhere in a cloud account. They're meant to be held, shared, pinned to a wall, tucked inside a notebook, given to a friend. Because that's when photographs really start to have a life beyond the moment they were taken. So before I put all the gear away from this trip, I decided to print a few of my favorite memories from the Redwoods. And honestly, I think that's the perfect way to end an adventure like this. The gear may change, but the memories are why I picked up a camera in the first place.